Welcome back to our channel, Disciples of the Bible. This is the second chapter of our series about brave women of the Bible. If you missed the first part, watch after. Today we are still in no hurry, telling every story like someone lighting a light bulb in a dark hallway. Courage here is not a spark at the moment, is constant flame. Brave women of the Bible, whose lives teach us to be stronger, to believe in our own power, and seeking an unshakable faith. Prepare to be inspired in a deep and transformative way. Before we start, if you seek inspiration, wisdom and heart-touching stories, sign up now. When applying, you join us on a journey of discoveries and profound reflections. Don't miss the next videos, full of powerful teachings. Now let's start this journey with a woman whose wisdom and faith are unwavering. Change the fate of a nation. And let's start with the first on the list. One in fifth place, the daughter of Pharaoh to the banks of the Nile. The palace decree orders the killing of Hebrew boys. A mother's a reed basket. Place the baby and entrust the waters. The sister watches from afar, between reeds and vegetables. 2, a young woman goes down to bathe. See the basket and send for it. The cloth opens. The cry fills the air. Around, there are rules and fear. Inside the basket, a life. In her heart, an instant that decides destinations. Compassion that makes. She is Pharaoh's daughter. The decree has the signature of her house. But she chooses to protect the baby's sister, offers to call a nanny. Hebrua, the accepted citizenship, not knowing she calls the boy's own mother. It seems, but it's providence. Doors that open when someone turns the doorknob. The baby grows in the lap, right? And then it is taken to the palace, receives a name that holds your rescue. Water taken from the waters. This young woman's courage does not raise armies, not partsies. She suspends a decree with a simple and firm gesture. Coming from inside the palace, who could only obey. There was risk. Contradict father in empire. Explain a Hebrew baby in the throne room. Support the decision when questions arrived. Courage is not absence of fear, it's priority. Consciousness overcomes fear. Courage is also interruption. If she crosses her arms, water dies, and the story of liberation changes course. An intimate decision, almost anonymous, becomes a turning point for an entire people. It wasn't just emotion, there was care. Welcome, ensure breastfeeding. Join the palace at the right time. Give name and place. Courage with method lasts more than euphoria. Carefully. Saves and prepares to bloom. Today we also find modern baskets. Fragile lives and decisions. Pharaoh's daughter teaches that preserving life is the first brick of any future release. God sometimes whispers hope in the palace. Or Nile follows, the reeds bend and that baby breathes. Of each breathing, a future is born. Providence sows the extraordinary with the simple choices of who, on the right day, decide for good. 4th place, Tamar. Courage that forces justice to appear. The road is dirt dance, dust rising with every step. On the horizon stores, herds and trade. In the midst of this world of Judah is Tamar, young widow pushed to a corner, where nobody looks for long. At that time, if a man died childless, the brother assumed responsibility for ensuring descendencia. It was protection for the woman and family memory. Count Gia jammed and dies. The no who should do the duty refuses on purpose. Judah promises. Waitusela, grow. Time passes. The promise is not kept. The message is silent. Continue to wait, alone. Tamar's courage is not explosion, it's clarity. If you do nothing, will be forgotten. Moves will not hear, so she chooses what everyone understands: evidence. Courage with method. Calculated risk and evidence. She knows where Judah will go. Covers itself with a veil to protect itself and negotiate a pawn. Don't want money, wants identity. The seal, the cord, and the staff. Objects that respond. Who's a Judah? Months later, the belly complains. The community, slow to protect, is quick to punish. Bring in before sentencing. Tamar does not speak, shows. Recognizes who they are, or courtyard silence. Judah has no way to escape. She's fairer than me. No excuse. It's public confession. He failed duty. She forced justice to appear when tradition hid it. Tamar's courage is engineering the truth. When nothing favors her, she speaks the language everyone understands. Evidence. When the crowd screams, she shows. When they want easy culprit, it exposes inconsistencies. If the plan fails, it becomes footwheel note. Another crushed woman. She knows and still acts. From your pain twins are born Pairs and Zerah by Pierce. The lineage comes to David and then to Jesus. Who would say, one warp of veil and dust on the roadside? Enter the redemption center. God does not applaud injustices, but it does not abandon those who have been left aside by human systems. If your cause is just, organize documents. Choose the time and show, or sir. Give me insight into the method. Strength for risk and peace to wait for the time, and when the truth comes, may the greatness of Judah be in us. Recognize and change. The courage to demand justice. Need to find the courage to admit the mistake. To breathe. On the next step of the top 5 comes Maria Magdalena. The courage to stay when everyone left, and to announce the beginning when few believed. 2 in third place, Mary Magdalene. Courage to remain and to announce the beginning. The week in Jerusalem begins with branches and chants, but ends with dark sky at noon and a log erected outside the city. Many who promised to stay did not stay. Doors closed. Voices fell silent. At the foot of the cross, there was one small group, and between them, Mary Magdalene. She is healed by Jesus, freed from 7 demons. Your story starts not on strength, but in restoration. Who is raised by him learns a different courage. The courage to remain when it still hurts. The risk of being associated with the convicted person. The clash between promises and the wood. Even so, she stays. After Jesus, hasty, she watches where the body was placed. This detail, where it looks small, but it will be the bridge between mourning and miracle. On the first day of the week, still dark, she returns to the grave, takes aromas, takes cry, takes questions, but no withdrawal. She finds the removed stone, run to warn, but go back to the place of pain. 2 disciples see, look and come home. Mary remains, cries in the same place where the loss happened. She stays until hope reveals itself. Woman, why are you crying? The question that bothers the heart. Mary sees someone, thinks he's the gardener, and then he speaks, Mary. The voice that knows your name. It's not an idea, is a relationship in what the flame. She runs, not to spread rumors, but to share. Meeting, I saw you. And so, Mary Magdalene becomes the first to announce the resurrection. Think about the pressure. Who would believe a woman's account? In a time in which female testimony was disregarded. Even so, she speaks. Courage is testimony. Tell the truth that transforms, even when others doubt. The garden where it all happened also speaks. Jesus is confused with the gardener. The first garden was where man fell. This is where God replants hope. The gardener takes care, pruning flame by name, makes what seemed lost. What we learned from her: stay with love where the pain happened. Get up early to seek hope. Even when everything is dark, let God speak your name. And when you hear, go out to announce, maybe you are between the porch and the garden. Mary's courage whispers, stay. Cry for real, listen, go. It's simple, deep and possible, because the same voice that knows your name in the valley also calls it to a new beginning. Second, a woman who at first glance seems invisible, but whose children sustained the future of Israel. She didn't agree at the center of the story, but your silent curiosity was the foundation for building something big. Leah, the daughter of Laban, was destined for the background from the beginning. She was the older sister, but she wasn't the most beloved. Your father, by deceiving Jacob, gave him in marriage without love. When Jacob was waiting for Rachel, the youngest and most desired sister, imagine the pain of being forgotten, Jacob. Imagine how much Leah must have felt invisible, seeing her husband pay more attention to his sister, who he dreamed of marrying, since saw her for the first time. But Leah did not surrender to hatred or despair. In place of frustration and rejection, she made one choice: continue. And this choice proved to be, over time, a brave choice. The pain did not consume her. She used it as fuel to move on. When Jacob approached her with a weary look, she didn't despair. It was strengthened with the faith that, contrary to worldview, don't look at the mirror, but for curiosity. Leah's story is marked by the children she fathered. Children, although they did not have the consent of the nobility or the beauty of Rachel, became the tribes of Israel. She gave birth to Judah, and from Judah came the lineage of King David, and consequently of the himself. So help, the one to whom Leah gave life would be the leader among his brothers, and your name would echo forever as a symbol of courage, faith, and divine purpose. That without ever being the favorite, without ever having had the recognition he wanted, but doing the best with what I had, every one of your children was one act of courage. Every one of them, one step in building the divine plan. Even without knowing it, in the moment of pain and rejection, Leah had the courage to be grateful. His faith was not in human recognition, but into God. Your prayer many times seemed unheard. But what she didn't know was that your children being born, she was generating the future tribes of Israel. Leah not only conformed to his situation, she persevered with faith and gratitude. But even without society's applause, she was a woman of faith, building the foundations for the history of Israel. Was possible. She teaches us that the courage is to remain even when there is no immediate honor, is in following even when the heart wants to scream. Leah teaches us one great lesson. Courageous. It's not just the ones they face, visible and fast battles, but also those who remain faithful in stillness, in rejection, and that in the end generate fruits you can't even imagine. She teaches us that true courage is not always view, but she lights the way. She reminds us that being faithful in difficult times is one of the ways bravest to serve God. And when it seems that the world passes over us, there is a force that keeps us on our feet and makes us the pillars that sustain a future we don't always see. We reach the first place on our raid list. A woman who, in the eyes of society, shouldn't have any value. She was a prostitute, Jericho resident, city condemned to destruction. His name does not appear among the most respectable figures, but contrary to that, appears in a prominent place in the book of Hebrews. As an example of faith, I lived in one world where women were seen as a property, being evaluated only by their morality and status. She, however, broke through these barriers in an extraordinary way. When Israel's spies arrived in Jericho, she hid them and deceived the king's soldiers. Protecting those from persecutors was a woman with courage, knew what was at stake, and decided he would risk his life for the chance. From a different future, she knew that the army of Israel was about to conquer Jericho, and instead of aligning with those who were the enemies of Israel, she aligned herself with the God of Israel. Rahab didn't hesitate to risk his life. She knew that if she was discovered, the punishment would be death. But your courage does not exceed one momentary impulse. She was based on faith in God. She already knew of the greatness of Israel, and so made a deal with the spies. She would help, but he wanted his life and his family's life to be spared when the city was destroyed. At that moment, Rahab made one choice that would equal forever. She no longer saw her identity in the limitations of society, but recognized himself in the power of God. She knew that what was at stake, it wasn't just your life, but your family life, the future of your city, and somehow, the future of an entire nation. When the city fell, the only preserved place was the house of Rahab, which was marked with a red cord, a sign of salvation. And in the midst of destruction, Rahab and his family have been saved. Your faith turned to salvation. But Rahab's story doesn't stop there. She wasn't just saved from immediate danger, but it was also integrated into the people of Israel. And the most amazing, she became part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. A woman's courage that did not let itself be defined by its past, but who chose to do the right thing, had an impact that truly transcended. She is mentioned in Matthew among the ancestors of Jesus as one woman whose transforming faith was one crucial link in the chain that led to Salvador. The Rab teaches us that true courage comes from a conscious decision not to allow fear, the circumstances or contours of the company define us. Courage is trusting God, even when the future seems uncertain. She wasn't judged by her past, but for what she did with her opportunity to act. Rahab, just like all the women we've seen so far, had the courage to do what seemed impossible. And through that courage, God used his life in an extraordinary way. She became one example of faith, of transformation, and most important, of salvation. From Rabbi to Leah, from Mary Magdalene to Tamar, and finally, Pharaoh's daughter. All these women defied expectations, broke down barriers, and marked history with their unshakable faith, showing each of us that it doesn't matter our origin, nor the difficulties we face. With courage, God can use us in an extraordinary way. We are disciples of the faith. Here you find stories based on this, with reflection and practical application for your life. Do not miss. Subscribe if you activate the bell, and share this video with someone who also needs inspiration. Continue with us on this journey of faith and wisdom. Until the next video.